The Smackdown Hacker, Mustafa Ali, what is going on with all of that sort of stuff? Let's get into this now. Mustafa Ali made his return to the WWE last night. He was away for quite a period of time, made his return, but not on the brand that he was originally on before. He made his return to Monday Night Raw. We had a segment where the Hurt Business was out in the ring. We had the self-appointed, self-crowned WWE United States Champion MVP in the ring, along with Bobby Lashley and the newest recruit to the Hurt Business, the new 24/7 champion Shelton Benjamin. Earlier on in the night, Shelton Benjamin had become the 24/7 champion. Love that, by the way. Love that they're doing something with Shelton Benjamin. I love the Hurt Business name. I just all of that. I think that's a great name. I think it's going to be a great group. I'm glad to see they're doing something with Shelton Benjamin. I can't say enough good things about it. MVP has been great in 2020 since he returned to WWE. It was great. So you had the Hurt Business in the ring, and they're talking about injuring Apollo Crews and having a six-man tag team match, etc. And their opponents, Cedric Alexander and Ricochet, come out. And MVP says, look, your partner was going to be Apollo Crews. He's not here. He's injured because of Bobby Lashley. You can pick any two of us to face in a tag team match since you don't have a tag team partner. And Ricochet and Cedric Alexander respond to him and say, well, we do have a tag team partner. Someone who is making their return to WWE after a long time away from our screens, and that person is none other than Mustafa Ali. Now, I must say, it was great to see Mustafa Ali. Before I get into my little bit of a rant that we're going on about in a minute, but it was great to see Mustafa Ali. He looked in tremendous shape. He looked like he hadn't missed a step in terms of the ring. If you're a fan of professional wrestling, you're a fan of Mustafa Ali because his work is always been without question. His work is great. Even going back from 205 Live, you got to remember as well, before the whole rise of Kofi Mania in 2019 at WrestleMania, before that, Mustafa Ali was scheduled to have a run with Daniel Bryan for the WWE Championship. Now, it wasn't going to be Mustafa Ali versus Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania. That was actually scheduled to be Daniel Bryan versus Kevin Owens at WrestleMania for the WWE Championship. But Mustafa Ali was scheduled to have a run with Daniel Bryan and at least challenge him for the WWE Championship. He got injured during a match with Randy Orton. He had an eye injury. Kofi Mania happens, and the rest, as they say, is history. So Mustafa Ali, and ever since then, has been so close to doing big things in WWE, and it's never just, the timing's never been there, or it's never come off. Money in the Bank, later on that year, we thought he was going to win Money in the Bank, and then who spoils that party? Brock Lesnar comes out and wins the Money in the Bank briefcase. So it's always been very, very close with Mustafa Ali. And there were rumours recently, and we weren't really sure if this was true or not, but it's proven to be true. There were rumours recently that he had silently moved from Raw and SmackDown. Of course, the last time we saw him was on our Friday Night SmackDown. He was listed as on SmackDown on the WWE roster page recently, only a couple of weeks ago. But we haven't seen Mustafa Ali on WWE television since Survivor Series in 2019. He was part of the Team Raw versus Team SmackDown versus Team NXT traditional Survivor Series elimination tag team match at the event. He got eliminated in that match, obviously, because NXT... was it NXT won that match? I believe so. And since then, he's just been wrestling dark matches. That's been it. Well, he was wrestling dark matches for a period of time, and then subsequently, since then, he hasn't been wrestling at all. He's just disappeared. And a lot of people speculated that the reason that he did disappear was because he was going to be repackaged or something was going to change in his character, specifically that being the hacker gimmick. Now, if you're not familiar with the hacker gimmick, the Smackdown Hacker, whatever you want to call it, this started up right at the start of this year. So you've got to remind yourselves that, so at this point in January of 2020, Mustafa Ali's been off television for a couple of months, maybe 6 weeks, something like that, maybe even less. And we see this hacker gimmick. We know Mustafa Ali's on the shelf, but he's not injured. Everyone started jumping to conclusions. Mustafa Ali is the Smackdown Hacker. Now, this started off with whereby we would just have glitches on the screen, and they would just cut into the feed of SmackDown. The announcers wouldn't even reference it. There would just this glitch appear on the screen, and everyone on social media would go crazy, going, what the hell was that? What was that? Was that my screen? Was that intentional by WWE? What was it? And it got a lot of people talking. And Mustafa Ali, even on social media, was being quite cryptic in some of the things that he was posting. He was not outwardly saying that he was the hacker, but it made sense. It made sense because Mustafa Ali has this law enforcement background. He used to be a Chicago PD officer, so he has that background in law enforcement. This whole glitch hacker gimmick kind of felt like a bit of a vigilante style gimmick, so it made sense. And the logo, on top of all of that, the logo that we saw in these glitches, we saw in these hacking videos, was the same logo of the Ring of Light that Mustafa Ali has on his ring gear and has on his entrance video. It made sense. It all made sense that it was pointing to Mustafa Ali. Now, these glitches turned into vignettes, and we saw a couple of vignettes on SmackDown, and we also kept seeing the glitches of the Smackdown Hacker during the background of whenever you would have a segment that involved Otis, Dolph Ziggler, Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville, Tucker, that whole storyline. Now, if you're not familiar with the Dolph Ziggler, Mandy Rose, and Otis and Sonya Deville storyline, it's a shame because it was actually a really fun storyline and a really good storyline. We knew about Otis's affection for Mandy Rose. He obviously lusted after Mandy Rose, and it looked and felt like that the guy was going to get the girl. The guy that was lusting after a girl that was completely out of his league, he was finally going to get the opportunity to go on a date with her. He asked Mandy Rose out. She said yes. They're meant to have a date on Valentine's Day. And then during that time, Otis gets a text from Mandy which says, "I'm running a bit late, come and meet me at the restaurant later." But Mandy didn't send that text message. Indeed, it was actually Dolph Ziggler and Sonya Deville that set that up, but we didn't know that yet. Instead, Otis goes to the restaurant a bit later, walks in, and he sees none other than Dolph Ziggler with Mandy Rose eating dinner, chatting away. And after that event, Dolph Ziggler and Mandy Rose were an item. Otis said, "Why? Why were you with Dolph?" She says, "Well, you were late. You left me hanging. You didn't show up, basically." And so that went on for a while. Dolph Ziggler and Mandy Rose were an item. And then just before WrestleMania, we saw the first proper appearance of the Hacker, sort of. I say proper appearance because the person in question was still very anonymous. You couldn't see their face. They were wearing a hoodie. They were in their control center, I guess, whereby they're cutting into the SmackDown broadcast, making their hacking videos, making their glitches, all of that sort of stuff. And the Hacker would reveal the footage of Sonya Deville and Dolph Ziggler conspiring to send this message to Otis and ensure that Dolph Ziggler and Mandy Rose got together. So the Hacker revealed that the Hacker was the one responsible for splitting up Ziggler and Mandy. They were also the one responsible for splitting up Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose. So post-WrestleMania, we thought, okay, this is really going to kick into effect now. We've seen the Hacker. The Hacker's a real thing. We've seen what they're capable of. They're kind of a bit of a vigilante-style character. Again, a lot of people were saying it's just a matter of time before Mustafa Ali. Some people were saying, and this was a little bit ludicrous, some people were saying, well, it's CM Punk. It's obvious CM Punk. Why? I guess because CM Punk wears hoodies. Honestly, that was like the rationale was CM Punk wears hoodies. So I think it's CM Punk. It was never, ever going to be CM Punk. And the thing that concerns me the most is that with the potential that this gimmick has now been dropped, some people will genuinely think it was meant to be CM Punk. They'll be like, oh, it was meant to be CM Punk, but then FS1 and WWE Backstage went away. So obviously that relationship changed, so that's why. And it's like, well, no, it isn't. It was never CM Punk. CM Punk has no interest in going back to WWE unless it's for a boatload of money, and I don't think he would be involved in a hacking gimmick involving Mandy Rose, Otis, and Dolph Ziggler. I just, no, forget that. Eliminate that from your brain. Do the thing from Men in Black, look into that shining light, and just forget that CM Punk is ever meant to be the Hacker, because it's not true. It's just not. So, post-WrestleMania, Ali kept doing this mystery hacking things, I guess. He would be subtle teases on his social media feed, and we would keep seeing these glitches and vignettes and all of this stuff about the Hacker on SmackDown. And then a further development of this, we would then see the Hacker open a Twitter account. I believe it was called @WWE The Message. It said that this account was made in 2010. As far as I'm aware, I believe this was a repurposed WWE account that was involved in the Be a Star campaign. You remember the anti-bullying campaign, Don't Be a Bully, Be a Star? As far as I'm aware, that's what the account was. It was actually a repurposed account, which, again, got some people talking, going, oh, it's an account from 2010. They've had this idea since 2010. No. WWE has never, ever planned a storyline so far in advance by 10 years. That isn't what happened there. So we have this Twitter account, we have the message, and it's the Twitter account of the Hacker. and the hacker posts tweets on there. He posts videos on there in which he does talk. His voice is altered, and this was the case when they made the appearance on SmackDown. We had an altered voice. Some people, now it wasn't altered very well because some people managed to repurpose the voice and find out who was actually speaking. On one of the cases, I believe actually was Mustafa Ali. They tried to get people confused, but I think they had Xavier Woods do a promo on there as well, and Chad Gable record some vocals for it. Again, it was still meant to be Mustafa Ali, as far as I'm aware. Those were just red herrings, and just to be like, oh, there are people on social media that are really, really smart and really, really good at technology now. You know, it's 2020. That kind of voice-altering technology isn't cutting edge, and it's pretty easy to find out who the person behind the voice is. You just have to stabilize the levels that they've done there. So they had Xavier Woods and Chad Gable do that, but they were still posting tweets. They were still doing videos. They were still having vignettes on that Twitter account. At some points as well, they were actually posting out coordinates, which I found was quite interesting. They're posting out these coordinates, and it would be like Consequences, New Mexico, or they're posting out coordinates of things that were like Money in the Bank, or they're posting out dates that had to do with Money in the Bank and Backlash. So it was interesting, and it was getting people talking. I think that's the important point there. It was getting a lot of people talking. And we had a couple of vignettes also on SmackDown post-WrestleMania. One was about a tag team, or the tag team divisions on SmackDown, female and male. So people are thinking, okay, what's going to happen here? Is the next revelation of this Smackdown hacker, are they going to reveal an injustice about a tag team? Are we going to have a tag team splitting up? What's going to be the case with a tag team on SmackDown? It's exciting. People were talking. And then suddenly, poof, nothing. And when I say nothing, I mean nothing. We haven't had any post since May 28th on the WWE The Message account, the hackers account. We've had no videos. We've had no glitches. I think maybe had one mention on Monday Night Raw, maybe just as a throwaway line of, can you believe what that was? Nothing. Nothing has happened since. And it led to many people, rightfully so, getting worried. They've stopped this angle. They've dropped this angle, haven't they? And the comparisons are there. It's GTV all over again. Now, if you're not familiar for what GTV was, it was a segment in the Attitude Era that was it was meant to lead to the reintroduction of Goldust. And essentially what it was, a bit similar to the hacker sort of thing, whereby it was a hidden camera, hidden in all of these places, and it would reveal many WWE superstars in not so flattering situations, Eddie Guerrero with the Godfather's females, Mark Henry in bed with Mae Young, all of this sort of stuff. That's what GTV was. It was meant to be a play on sort of, car crash television of the 90s, the Jerry Springer Show, showing these more intimate and revelatory moments that could help facilitate some storyline or help move along some storyline, but it was meant to lead to the reintroduction of Goldust. However, Goldust didn't return to the WWE. Instead, he signed with WCW, and GTV was kind of repurposed as to facilitate all of these storylines, but the problem was there was no payoff. No one knew who was behind GTV. The whole point of GTV was that we were going to reveal who's the person behind GTV, who's doing this. It was meant to be an extra layer to this strange and bizarre Goldust character, but now he was almost a bit of a voyeur. He was looking on people's lives in GTV. He was moving into the 2000s, and it never happened, and we never got a payoff, and we've still, to this day, all of these years later, some 20 years later, or maybe even longer, we've yet to have any form of payoff for that angle. And it was something that people liked. It was something that people liked, and it got people's attention, and it's the exact same thing here with the hacker. It was something unique. It was something different. When's the last time we had like a hacking gimmick hacking into the TV show? I think the last time I can recall anything similar to this is when Chris Jericho made his return in 2012, and you remember he would have the sort of cut-ins whereby it would have the weird vignettes with the boy and the girl and the abandoned playground and the abandoned schoolyard and the abandoned classroom and all of that sort of stuff. And initially it just started off by when it said trending worldwide now, or follow us at WWE, or use the hashtag Raw. That thing would just cut out and send a YouTube link. And all of these vignettes initially were posted to this YouTube link. And because it was so grassroots, because it was so subtle, and most importantly, because it was so different and so unique and something that we weren't used to seeing, it wasn't just your regular, this guy's coming soon vignettes. It was more subtle. It was different. It got people talking. And that's the exact same thing here with this hacker. It's something that people liked. A lot of people spoke about it, and a lot of people were interested in it, and it got people's attention at a time where Raw and SmackDown doesn't do that. Raw and SmackDown doesn't get people's attention all the time now. It's very wash and repeat. It's very same. It's very cookie cutter. There is a format. They stick to the format every week. They don't deviate outside of that very often. It's segment, segment, segment. There is no narrative thread. There is nothing outside the box. There is nothing different. You watch Raw, you watch SmackDown. That's how they do it. And the SmackDown glitch was different. It was interesting. It looked different. It felt different. It got people talking. It was a mystery. Everyone in professional wrestling, for the longest time, everyone loves a whodunit. Everyone loves a mystery person. Who is the person behind this? People still talk about them years and years later. A lot of the time in WWE, they mess it up, the higher power, etc. Because once they start things off, Rikishi running over the Rock, that wasn't the original plan. They start things off without the ending in mind. And I don't know if that was the case here. I do think they had an ending in mind, but it looks like they're just not going to pay it off now. With Ali moving to Raw, it would appear that they're not going to pay it off. It's GTV. It's 2020 GTV. That's exactly what it is. And I don't know what frustrates me the most when it comes to this. I don't know if it's just the idea that, the people in creative are kind of like, well, what about the Smackdown Hacker? What about the hacker? And they'll just go, oh, people forget about it. And who do you think we are? We're dumb? WWE fans dumb? Or it's not even WWE fans. If in any other TV show, and this does happen in TV shows, it is true. Yeah, watching some of your favourite dramas, they start things off, and then in the next season, they decide to go a different way or a different storyline, and things change. But even in those shows, people go, why did they drop that? It doesn't make any sense. People talk about it. It isn't just a WWE thing. I will give them some benefit of the doubt when it comes to that, because it's not just a WWE thing. These things happen in television. But whenever they happen in television, every fan of the program goes, what? Why? Why did you drop that? Pay it off. Oh, and the idea that our fans will forget. They'll move on. They won't remember that. Of course they'll remember that. If you're a fan of the program and you watch the program every single week, which, let's be honest, there aren't many right now. There aren't many watching Monday Night Raw, that's for sure. But if you're a fan of the program and you are invested in a storyline that they just drop, you will openly question it. Why did they drop that? Why has that changed? Who's behind that? And the idea that, people are talking about it even if we don't have to pay it off, so that it worked. Or they'll just forget about it and they'll move on. No, they won't. That's the annoying thing. This idea that, they're stupid. Fans are stupid. We're the real geniuses here in creative. We're the one writing the show. We're the ones that are smart enough. They don't know what they're on about, okay? We'll give them what they want and they'll like it. Or we'll give them what we want, more importantly, and they'll like it, okay? That's exactly what it is. And when I see things like this, it was the same with the Raw GM thing. I think the Raw Anonymous GM thing is a good example when it comes to this. Yes, the payoff for the Raw Anonymous GM was awful, right? They paid it off as Hornswoggle being the Anonymous Raw GM years and years after the fact. But for the longest time, the question was, who is the Anonymous Raw GM? Regardless of what you think about that annoying message tone or whatever you think about Michael Cole doing his announcements or this anonymous thing, it was interesting. It got people talking. Who is going to be revealed as the Anonymous Raw GM? Again, they didn't have an idea in mind at the time, so it never got paid off, and when it did, it sucked. But the credit I will give WWE on that one is that they did pay it off eventually. And I hope it doesn't take as long as it took to pay off the Anonymous Raw GM thing, but they need to pay this storyline off. They need to. Even if you find out it's some creepy guy in the back, I don't know, it's Vince McMahon trying to work out how to use a computer, or whatever. It's Shawn Michaels once again tapping his keyboard. Whoever it is, if it's some weird guy at Full Sail that shouldn't be there, I'd rather them pay it off and then pay it off badly than not pay it off at all. Because it's just, as a viewer and as a fan, and maybe I'm trying to find logic in professional wrestling, because we all know logic does not exist most of the time in professional wrestling. But maybe I'm trying to find logic where there is none. But I think there should be even an attempt. There should be an attempt to pay this storyline off. There should be an attempt to do the right thing. There should be an attempt to, you've invested time. You've invested people's time in this storyline, and they're emotionally invested. To not pay it off doesn't seem right to me. And it's a storyline that people were interested and care about. You should pay it off. Now, of course, we don't know officially that the hacking gimmick has been dropped. We don't know. We don't know. If the hacker reappears on Monday Night Raw now, because it was exclusively to SmackDown, but if the hacker does appear on Monday Night Raw going forward, it's a pretty safe bet that it is Mustafa Ali, and that absolutely could happen. In my opinion, it'd be a welcome addition to the show. I think with all that's going on in that performance center recently, with some of those shocking pandemic stories that we're hearing, I think the hacker should show up and show shone some light, share some light, easy for me to say, on what's been going on in that performance center, because who knows what's been going on in that performance center, right? So maybe that would be a good thing. But seriously, it would be a welcome addition to the show because it would be something different. Everyone knows that 3-hour show is so hard to watch every single week. It's a bore a lot of the time. Less people are watching it than ever. 1.5 million people last week, to be exact, on average. So it would be a welcome addition to the show, a creatively inspiring storyline, something different. Maybe it would get people watching. And when it comes to the eventual reveal of who indeed the hacker is, the identity of the hacker, maybe that reveal could actually help out Monday Night Raw. As I mentioned, Monday Night Raw's ratings at the moment suck. I mean, the 1.5 million viewers, less people right now are watching Monday Night Raw than have ever watched it in its 27-year history. Get that through your head. 27 years and less people are watching it now than ever before. And people will say, well, cable's changed and television's changed, people stream, and the way we consume content has changed, and the pandemic, it's all a factor. It's all a factor, but it doesn't change the fact that Raw has been dying ever since 2000. For the last 20 years, pretty much every year Raw loses viewers. The pandemic just sped things up. It was always going to be the case. So, and I'm not saying having the hacker, the SmackDown hacker on Raw is going to turn things around. We're going to put the SmackDown hacker on Raw, and we're going to bring in 5 million people every week. I'm not saying that's going to happen, because that isn't. Professional wrestling, WWE, Monday Night Raw, all of that needs to fundamentally change to really start to bring in the viewers again and to drive interest back up in the product. But if WWE wanted to pop a rating, get people maybe interested, maybe bringing some viewers, they're not going to bring in loads, but bringing some viewers, having the eventual reveal of the hacker's identity on Monday Night Raw wouldn't be a bad thing. As I mentioned, these whodunits and who's the person behind this and the identity reveal storylines, they do very well in the ratings. Not only do they do very well in terms of audience reaction, because people like to... they like to go on the emotional journey of what's going on, who's this person, can I guess this person, can I figure it out, has anyone else figured it out? Not only does it feel fun to do that, but when the actual reveal does happen on the TV show, they usually do pretty well in the ratings because people are interested, people want to know the answer, people want to find out. So, of course, if the hacker does appear on Raw going forward and the SmackDown hacker turns into the Raw hacker, it's pretty obvious that we know who it is. It's Mustafa Ali. But if it is dropped, then my hope is that Mustafa Ali does get used properly on Raw. That's my hope, because on SmackDown, in fairness, in SmackDown, he was being used pretty well, I think, considering, he was on 205 Live and he made the jump to SmackDown. And for me, the jump was pretty seamless. He had great matches. Some people can say that they're not a massive fan of him on the mic, and that's probably true. That comes with time, that comes with confidence. His work in the ring is great. He does have that form of charisma, though. Now, people might disagree with me here. I'm a big fan of Ricochet's work in the ring, but I think on the mic, he's terrible. Like, honestly, I think he's terrible, and he really, really needs to work on that. But they had promos last night. Cedric Alexander, I thought, did a fine job of his promo. I thought it was good. Cedric Alexander's good in the ring. He doesn't necessarily have the look or the in-ring set as good as Ricochet, but I think Cedric Alexander's better on the mic than Ricochet. Ricochet's promo last night, even though it was like a couple of lines, again, was just cringe and just sounded like a small child. And you wonder why he got absolutely destroyed by Brock Lesnar in Super Showdown. I'm not saying that was justified. I'd have rather had Ricochet have a decent match and try and make the most money with the talent that you have, not destroy them. But my point being that Ricochet, there's a lot to work on there. But I think Mustafa Ali is better on the mic than Ricochet. I think he shows more passion. I think he shows more, just connection with the audience. I like his entrance. I think his look's great. He's got quite a support online, and he's got quite a support all over the country and the world, to be honest. He's a global superstar. He's he can do a lot with him. That's my point there. There's a lot you can do with Mustafa Ali, and I hope him moving to Monday Night Raw means, look, Monday Night Raw needs bodies as well, because they're missing, WWE's hurting with just star power in general right now with the pandemic, but they need people that are going to help on Monday Night Raw, and maybe Mustafa Ali on Monday Night Raw, maybe that's the right place for him right now. Maybe that's the place where he can really develop even more, get into substantial storylines and substantial feuds, have time to cut promos, have time to have good matches. I would be interested in seeing him feud with the Hurt Business. As I mentioned, I'm a big fan of that stable, and I'm a big fan of having them do something at last with the likes of Shelton Benjamin, and having MVP as the mouthpiece for that, and the booking of Bobby Lashley recently, I think, is the best he's been booked since he's come back to WWE, so I don't have a problem with that at all. My concern is if Mustafa Ali is part of this Alexander and Ricochet versus the Hurt Business feud, I just think, I don't know, that just doesn't really super interest me that much, and I think he could get lost in the shuffle there. I would like to see him sort of maybe compete for the United States Championship. I think Apollo Crews should come back and turn heel anyway, and I think it'd be a great addition to the Hurt Business. And then maybe you have Mustafa Ali versus a heel Apollo Crews. I would like to see Mustafa Ali hold the United States Championship. And look, as I mentioned, this was a guy in 2019 that was going to get a big push on SmackDown. He was going to compete for the WWE Championship or have a run against the WWE Champion. He wasn't going to win it, but he was going to have an opportunity, and that hopefully would take him to the next level. It doesn't always do that. Ask Ricochet. But he was going to have a chance, and look, hopefully he can do that on Raw. Do I think he's going to face Drew McIntyre? No, because that doesn't make any sense. But, I mean, maybe in the future, if Randy Orton wins the WWE Championship from Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam, maybe Mustafa Ali faces him in the future. Mustafa Ali was actually injured by Randy Orton in 2019. He's the reason that Mustafa Ali missed out on the whole Kofi Mania situation and all of that. That was Randy Orton's doing. So maybe Randy Orton wins the title, and then one of his first challenges is Mustafa Ali, and Mustafa Ali gets a spotlight. That's the way that I do it, and I think that's the way that makes the most sense to me. I ultimately wouldn't drop the hacking gimmick. I think that's money, and I think it's interesting, and I think it's different. But this is WWE. Their ideas of what they're going to do creatively and what they think is good and what they don't like, and I say they, Vince McMahon, what he wants to do and what he decides to give up on, changes every 5 seconds. So the hacking gimmick might be dropped, it might be back tomorrow, then it might be dropped again, and we might never see it or hear of it again. We might never see from Mustafa Ali ever again. So that's just Vince McMahon. But ultimately, I would persist with the storyline. Even if you decide, look, that we don't want to do that anymore, just pay it off. Pay it off somehow. Say, I don't know, say it was Elias, but he's been run down, even though the police obviously don't care about that either. Do something. Do something. That's the point with this gimmick. Do something, pay it off. But of course, as always, this is just one man's opinion. What is your opinion on Mustafa Ali being moved to Monday Night Raw? Do you think it's a good thing? Do you think it's a bad thing? What do you think the status is on the hacking gimmick? Do you think we're going to see the hacker on Monday Night Raw? Do you think we're going to see the hacker on SmackDown? Will we ever see the hacker again? Will it be something like a GTV that never gets paid off? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I'll be sure to respond to all of your comments and interact with you guys down there. I really enjoy speaking with you guys on the channel. That's what's great about this channel. It's all about discussion, opinion, and sharing your opinion on professional wrestling. That's why we watch it, right? But you're also sure to give this video a like. The more likes we get, the better for the recommendations here on YouTube. And if you enjoyed this video, please share it with your friends. And most importantly, please do subscribe to Wrestle News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now. Or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video, along with another video for you to watch. We're over 500 subscribers now, so thank you everyone that has subscribed to the channel in the last few weeks. I really do appreciate it, and I appreciate everyone's support and everyone that's taken the time to watch these videos, click subscribe, like the video, whatever. I really do appreciate it. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, so if you're watching this video and you haven't subscribed to Wrestle News 365, please do, and we can eventually hit that 1,000 subscriber goal. And once we get to 1,000 subscribers, we'll be doing a lot more watch-alongs, streams, and a lot more fun stuff will be coming to the channel. So the quicker we get there, the more fun stuff we can do. Be sure to follow us also on all of our social media platforms. They're on the screen right now. It's at 365 Wrestle on Twitter and at Wrestle News 365 on Facebook and Instagram, so be sure to give us a follow or like there. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.